Many people get arrested in crimes they didn't commit, and if they fail to produce any evidence, they get convicted, sometimes for decades. So in today's video, we're going to talk about 10 people who got wrongly convicted but were later found to be innocent. Number 10. Devontae Sanford, 8 years in prison, found innocent. Devontae Sanford was 14 in 2007 when he was charged with 4 fatal shootings in his Detroit neighborhood. He pleaded guilty at age 15, although later insisted he was innocent and only made a deal because he felt desperate and poorly represented by his lawyer. Michigan State Police said after a high-tech analysis by a private company that analyzed the blood sample which was found on his shoe. At the age of 27, Sanford was released from the prison in 2016 after prosecutors said the case was spoiled by police misconduct. The state of Michigan paid $408,000 to Sanford for wrongful conviction. He's now suing Detroit police in federal court, alleging his rights were violated during the investigation. Number 9. Bobby Johnson. The year was 2006, and Johnson, age 16, was brought in for questioning regarding the murder of Herbert Fields, a 70-year-old New Hallville resident. Quam Wells Jordan, Johnson's friend who was 14 at the time, was also picked up for the same crime. The two boys had very different fates. Both were accused of murder, falsely told by detectives that there was forensic evidence against them, and pressured to confess. But at the police station, Wells Jordan refused to confess, while Johnson was pressured to confess by being told that he would never see his family again and be subject to the death penalty. Wells Jordan's defense attorney, Diane Poland, fought the charges in court, and Wells Jordan was acquitted. However, Johnson pleads guilty in exchange for a 38-year sentence rather than taking his chances in court. After 5 years working on Johnson's behalf, the Connecticut Innocence Project and defense attorney Kenneth Rosenthal helped bring justice to Johnson and his family after he'd already spent 9 years in prison. Number 8. Luis Vargas, 16 years in prison, found innocent. Luis Vargas, when he was arrested, he was accused of raping 3 women. He is now 51 years old and proved innocent. At the age of 46, he'd already spent 16 years in prison for a crime he didn't commit. He maintained his innocence for years, reaching out to the California Innocence Project to point out reports of crimes identical to the one he was convicted of. His attorneys requested new DNA testing which cleared Vargas of the crimes. The teardrop rapist is linked to more than 30 sexual assaults in Los Angeles since 1996. The suspect has a distinct teardrop tattoo and is still on the loose. Vargas's attorneys said he was mistakenly identified by the victims because of a similar tattoo. Number 7. Susan Mallon, 17 years in prison, found innocent. Susan Mallon spent 17 years in prison for a murder she didn't commit and is expected to walk free from a Torrance courtroom on Friday. Prosecutors will recommend releasing her. A Torrance Superior Court jury convicted Mallon on May 15, 1998, of killing Richard James Daly, whose body was found burning in a San Pedro alley on July 21, 1997. When firefighters extinguished the flames, they discovered Daly, a 30-year-old 1985 Redondo Union High School graduate and father of 2, had been bound with electrical wire, gagged, and beaten with a clawfoot hammer. A scarf was shoved into his throat. The crime was traced to a Lawndale house, which deputies refer to as the Mallon Patch. Mallon sought help over the years but did not get far until about a year ago when Innocence Matters, a nonprofit that works to overturn wrongful convictions, began investing her case and helped obtain the evidence needed to gain Mallon's release. Number 6. Daniel Villegas, 18 years in prison, found innocent. Daniel Villegas, a man who endured a 25-year saga behind bars after being wrongfully convicted of murder at the age of 16 when he falsely confessed after undergoing hours of brutal and threatening police interrogation. Villegas became a victim of the fear that swept an entire community after the occupants of a car opened fire on 4 teenagers who were walking home from a party in El Paso, Texas in April 1993. While 2 of the boys ran and escaped, 2 were shot dead. Police found no DNA or forensic evidence connecting any individual to the crime. A few of the boys gave statements implicating Villegas after being subjected to interrogation techniques that included the threat of being sent to prison. During Villegas's first trial in December 1994, his cousin and friends recanted their statements against him. Almost a year later, Villegas was convicted and sentenced to life in prison in a second trial. Villegas finally won his freedom after being found not guilty in his third trial on October 5, 2018. Number 5. Richard Rosario, 20 years in prison, found innocent. Over 23 years ago, a teenager was shot and killed in the streets of the Bronx. Several states away, the New York Law Journal reports Richard Rosario learned that he had been named as the murderer in the case. Although Rosario was in Florida at the time of the altercation and there was no physical evidence to tie him to the case, two witnesses named him as the murderer after seeing his picture in a police photo book, and Rosario was convicted of second-degree murder and sent to jail. In June 2016, investigators took the time to travel to Florida and interview a dozen alibis that Rosario named in the case originally and found that he was not guilty, allowing him to finally leave prison. Losing 20 years of his life and gaining a false criminal record, Rosario claims that a Bronx trial judge barred him from seeking damages as compensation for the lost time and lower quality of life because of what he suffered. Number 4. Raymond Towler, 29 years in prison, found innocent. Raymond is an American musician and artist who was falsely convicted of rape, kidnapping, and felonious assault in Cuyahoga County, Ohio, at the age of just 24 years old on September 18, 1981. On May 24, 1981, a 12-year-old boy and 11-year-old girl were coaxed into a wooded area in the Rocky River Reservation 3 weeks after this incident happened. Raymond Towler was identified as matching the description of the suspect when he was stopped by a park ranger doing a routine traffic stop. Towler was convicted of rape, kidnapping, and felonious assault on September 18, 1981. He was sentenced to 12 years to life in prison for rape, with additional consecutive sentences of 7 to 25 years and 5 to 25 years. On May 5, 2010, the convictions of rape, kidnapping, and felonious assault were vacated by Cuyahoga County Common Pleas Court Judge Eileen A. Gallagher, and Towler was released from Grafton Correctional Institution. Number 3. Michael Hanlon, 36 years in prison, found innocent. On November 24, 2014, Michael Hanlon walked out of custody a free man after being in prison for 36 years, the longest wrongful incarceration in Californian history. Ventura County Superior Court Judge Donald Coleman ordered Hanlon's release after lawyers from the California Innocence Project at California Western School of Law and the Ventura County District Attorney's Office agreed that documents were withheld from Hanlon at his original trial, showing that others may have been responsible for the crime. Additionally, new DNA evidence pointing to Hanlon's innocence undermined the district attorney's confidence in the conviction. This resulted in Hanlon's conviction being overturned by the courts, which led to the hearing and his release. Number 2. Craig Coley, 39 years in prison, found innocent. Craig Richard Coley was an American Navy soldier during the Vietnam War, and his service included several deployments to Vietnam aboard USS Enterprise and USS Bainbridge. Coley was wrongfully convicted of a double murder in Los Angeles, California, and spent 39 years in jail. He was freed by the governor of California in 2017 because DNA testing wasn't available at his original trial, and it didn't support his conviction. On November 11, 1978, 24-year-old Rhonda Wick and her 4-year-old son Donald Wick were found dead in her apartment in Simi Valley. Donald Wick had been suffocated and Rhonda had been raped, beaten, and strangled. The police suspected Coley was the murderer because he had been Rhonda Wick's boyfriend for 2 years, and the couple had recently broken up. Coley was arrested the same day as the murders and charged with a double murder. The first trial resulted in a hung jury. The second trial in 1980 led to his conviction, and he was sentenced to life imprisonment without parole. California Governor Jerry Brown pardoned Coley on November 22, 2017, because the evidence showed he was innocent of the murders. In February 2018, the California Victims' Compensation Board awarded Coley almost $2 million in compensation for his wrongful imprisonment for almost 40 years. Number 1. Richard Phillips, 46 years in prison, found innocent. Richard Phillips spent 45 years in prison for a crime he didn't commit. Phillips was convicted of the 1971 murder of Gregory Harris in Detroit, but always maintained his innocence. He tried to appeal his conviction several times with no success, including a 1997 appeal that languished in the courts. Things took a turn in 2010 when Phillips's alleged co-defendant, Richard Palumbo, told a parole board Phillips had nothing to do with the crime. Palumbo said that he and the prosecution's star witness, Fred Mitchell, had murdered Harris and that Harris had conspired to frame Phillips to escape conviction after Detroit police arrested him for another crime. Mitchell died in 1997. That jump-started a stalled appeals process and ultimately led to a new investigation that cleared Phillips of any involvement, finally putting an end to a legal and human drama that lasted well over 40 years. Phillips became a free man. That's all for our video today. Let us know what you think about these cases in the comments below, and we'll see you next time.